If you can play a million songs, you'll get great gigs and great bands. You'll fly over the world, you'll have an incredible adventure. So don't worry so much about, if you want to learn it technically, you can, but learning songs is the most important.
Ja, hi, der Jan hier von Musiker-orientierten Bands und wir sind heute beim Warwick BassCamp in Markneukirchen und jetzt sind wir hier mit Billy Sheehan, seines Zeichens einer der coolsten Rockbassisten, wie man sich vorstellen kann. So, hi Billy, how are you?
Guten Tag, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on Musiker-orientierten.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having time for us.
My pleasure.
When did you arrive here?
I got here last night, flew in from Los Angeles. It's about a 10-hour flight.
Okay, so you're a little bit jet lagged?
I'm okay. I had a little vino last night, put me to sleep, and I'm okay now.
Okay, you're the first time here at Warwick?
It is my first time at Warwick. So I'm so thankful they invited me along. I think Warwick deserves a great deal of credit for bringing all kinds of different bass players that play all kinds of different basses all together at the same time. It's a really wonderful event, and it's a chance for me to see all my bass playing buddies that I never get to see because we're always on tour. So I saw so many great friends.
Yeah, so you had some time to walk around and see the workshop and the
Yes, a little bit. It's just incredible. The Warwick stuff is wonderful. Like I said, a great company. And you can tell accompanied by the people, and the people here are just really very, very nice, generous, and fabulous. It's good.
But you don't do classes here?
No, they don't have me scheduled to do a class. It was their choice. I offered if I wanted. They said, no, we just want you to come and hang out. I said, cool. So I did.
So you like Germany in general?
I love Germany. Every time I come here, driving through these little towns, the picturesque, perfect little buildings, the traditional German with the flowers overhanging. I love the German food. The restaurant at the hotel last night was an American food menu. Don't you got any German food? Well, we have a sauerbraten. And I go, well, bring me that. I don't want the American food. I get that at home. But I love Germany. The beer is incredible. People are wonderful. Every time I've performed in Germany, it's just been an incredible thing, and I'm glad to be back.
And I don't know if there are people that don't know you, but for those who don't know you, can you tell us a little bit how you started?
Sure. I started playing in a band in Buffalo, New York, my hometown, a band called Talus, and we played and played and played and played, and for years and years, and hundreds of shows, and I kind of grew up in that band. Then about 1985, I got the call to go to Los Angeles, start a band with David Lee Roth. We started the Eat 'em and Smile band, and did that record and tour. It was a wonderful experience. Did the next record, Skyscraper, left right after that record, and went out and started my own band called Mr. Big. We're very happy to have some very big hits with Mr. Big. They were hits in Germany too, which is cool. And we played together for many years, kind of broke up, but then got back together again later. In the meantime, I have a band called Niacin, a Hammond B3, and Dennis Chambers on drums and bass. We play every couple of years together. And right now I have a new rock band called the Winery Dogs with Mike Portnoy on drums and Richie Kotzen on guitar. So I played in a lot of bands, toured around the world many, many times. I got a lot of friends all over the place, and I'm very thankful.
Yeah, and why is the bass the perfect instrument for you?
Well, bass, I was instantly attracted to bass because the low frequencies travel so far. And there was a bass player in my neighborhood when I was a little kid. His name was Joe, and I'd be in my bed at night, I could hear the bass. Couldn't hear anything else, but I could always hear the bass. So it was always intriguing to me. And I'm tall and skinny, and the bass is tall and skinny. And my voice is low, so the bass is low too, so we fit each other well. I love drums, but I don't play drums. But I've always been a fan of drumming. As a bass player, that's the best thing you can be, because bass and drums got to go together like that. Yeah. So when I go see a band, the first guy I watch is the drummer. So that's a good way to be a bass player, is to be tuned in with the drums. So now, like I said, I'm playing with Mike Portnoy and the Winery Dogs, fantastic drummer. We play together very well, and I have an enjoyable time with him and Richie and the Winery Dogs as a result. So bass is, I think it's the cool instrument. Yeah. You know, what's cool? That's cool. Bass is kind of cool. So I think it's the cool instrument. Guitar is flashy and exciting, and they get all the girls. Drummers, exciting and cool, but instant with a TV show or something like, hey, it was really a cool cat, and you hear bass play. So it's always a cool instrument. I don't know what I'm talking about.
But you have a very special bass. Can you tell us a little bit about the instrument you're
Sure.
playing?
It's my Yamaha Attitude bass. It basically it's a model of my original bass I had back in Buffalo, New York when I grew up. My original bass was a Fender P bass, but I modified it completely. I added a Gibson EBO pickup here, at 2 outputs, Telecaster neck, different tuning pegs, different everything. The only thing that was original on my old Fender was the body and some of the pickguard. So now when I got together with Yamaha years ago, we wanted to do something like a P bass, but we wanted to do some improvements. So the neck to body joint, a very special joint. It's much different than any other neck to body joint. It's really, really solid. Wood is artificially aged. We have the dual outputs. Each pickup has its own output into separate amps. So you get a great split signal that's really great for a 3-piece band because you can really get a lot of tone out of the bass. The neck was modeled after my original Telecaster bass neck, where they're famous for being big and fat. So it's fat, tons of sustain, and it's just a great workhorse bass. You can beat it and pound it and sweat all over it, and it stays in tune and is ready to go to the next show. So Yamaha's done a wonderful job on this bass, and I'm very, very proud to have worked with them for almost 30 years now.
Yeah. And when and why did you came up with the 2-output system?
I always loved the sound of the old Gibson basses, but I love how the Fenders played, and I love the sound of the Fender too. So I want to do both at once. So I thought, well, I put the Gibson pickup on my Fender bass, and I didn't know how to wire a switch.
Okay.
So I just ran 2 outputs and then ran into 2 inputs of the amp, and it seemed to work even better. And so then I eventually got 2 amps, 1 amp for this, 1 amp for that, different EQ, and it was really a giant tone. Then I found out there was other companies and people that did the same thing. Years later I found out Rickenbacker has a Rico Sound stereo plug, same thing, 2 outputs. All the early Alembic handmade, they were the first big handmade bass company in America. Stanley Clarke played in Alembic, very popular bass. All of the early ones had dual output from each pickup. Then I read that John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin took his jazz bass and split it. Each pickup had its own output, same thing. And the guy from Grand Funk Railroad also did a similar thing. So a lot of guys did the same thing. I didn't know at the time, but we all had the same solution to the same problem. Fender basses sound great, and Gibson basses sound great. Why not have them both together? And so that's what it is.
Okay, and which amps are you using now?
Hartke.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been with Hartke now for about almost 5 years. They've been really great. I have not had one single problem with them on tours everywhere, and even in India, Indonesia, Thailand, the most faraway places in the world. I have not had a single problem with my Hartke stuff. Sound great, they're rock solid, and they've been treating me very well. It's a nice company.
And you're known as a very technical bass player, so like you can play almost everything.
Well, I'm trying.
Yeah, but what would you say for a beginning bass player? What's important to learn first, or how should he start?
Well, the first thing I did is I learned how to play songs. I played songs. I played in a band and I played songs. Later on, the technical thing came. But if you have the foundation of playing 1,000,000 songs, you can play all the Beatles songs, all the Stones songs, all the Hendrix, whoever your favorite band is, AC/DC, any band that it is, play songs, learn how to play with a band. Later on, the technical stuff will come, if you want it to. But it's not really necessary. I mean, Paul McCartney does not need to do a bass solo. And he's the richest musician in the world. And he's also the most loved musician, I think, in the world, which is even more important. So I wouldn't worry so much about soloing and technical stuff. If you can play 1,000,000 songs, you'll get great gigs and great bands. You'll fly over the world, you'll have an incredible adventure. So don't worry so much about, if you want to learn the technical, you can, but learning songs is the most important.
Okay, and if you had to choose the perfect drummer for you, what does he have to offer you? Like cool grooves or?
Well, with me and drummers, we do like an instinct, like an ESP, mind reading. So I got to be able to read his mind, he reads mine. So when we play, we kind of automatically, even when we don't rehearse, things go together. So I've been very lucky to play with some great drummers. The greatest, in my mind, is Dennis Chambers. But I also, now I'm playing with Mike Portnoy, fantastic. Mr. Big Drummer Pat Torpy, incredible. Played with Virgil Donati. Played with a lot of great drummers. I'm very lucky to have played with so many great drummers. And I look for that good communication between me and the drummer. So if you see me later at the camp here jamming, the first thing I do is I walk over to where the drummer is, and I watch him really close.
Okay.
That's, for me, the most important thing. But like I said, I'm a fan of drums and drumming. And for me, my bass playing is built around what the drummer does. So I got to have a good relationship with the drummer.
So yeah, thank you very much.
Danke schön.
Thank you.
All right.